Bonjour! Today we're going to learn some more about reflexive verbs in the past tense. There's a little detail that we need to add in order to make sure that we know everything there is about using them in the past tense. So I'm going to throw a whole bunch of notes at you, and I'm going to ask you to have your notebook ready to write them down. Some of these notes you've taken before. I want you to take them again anyway, because the more you write it, the more you read it, the more you think about it, the more likely you are to remember it, and the more likely you are to make those reflexive verbs correct in the past tense and not incorrect. So, oh my gosh, look at this huge thing here. You do not have to copy this whole verb down. Let's just look at this slide together. You do not have to write anything down right now. It says reflexive verbs in the passé composé. They look like this, and we should be used to this by now, right? Je me suis lavé, tu t'es lavé, il s'est lavé, elle s'est lavé. And we're noticing that there's an extra E when the person is feminine. Same thing with the plurals, right? Nous nous sommes lavés. There's an extra S because it's plural. And there's an extra E because it's feminine. Same thing with vous vous êtes lavés. Ils se sont lavés. You're not going to have an extra S because il is always masculine. Elles se sont lavées. You are going to have an extra E because the elle is always feminine. So that's just a little review. This is also review. You do not need to write this down unless, of course, you want to, because as I've said, the more you write it, the better you're going to remember it. But this is very wordy, and it just kind of summarizes what we already did. The passé composé of reflexive verbs differs from the passé composé of most regular verbs in several ways. One, the past tense is conjugated with the verb être. So where I would say j'ai dansé, right, j'ai dansé, I would say je suis, right, je me suis maquillée. So I'm going to use être, not avoir. The past participle takes an ending that agrees with the subject, right? So if it's feminine, there's an E, plural, there's an S, plural and feminine, ES. So 2 examples at the bottom. We have elle s'est dépêchée on the left. Dépêchée means hurried. We didn't learn that this year, but we will in the future. Elle s'est dépêchée. We have an extra E because elle is feminine. Susan s'est amusée. That means she had fun. We have an extra E because it's reflexive and Susan is female. Susan s'est amusée. Elles se sont excusées. These are all verbs you haven't seen. Elles se sont excusées. They excused themselves. E because it's feminine, S because it's plural. Je me suis levée. Extra E because I'm a girl. If you're a guy, you wouldn't have that there. Now here's where I want you to take some notes. I'd like you to copy this down. It says, the exception to the above is that there is no agreement if there is a direct object, such as a part of the body. You're saying, what in the world does that mean? All it means is if I'm a girl and I say, je me suis lavée, I put an E on the end because I'm just washing myself. But if I want to say what part of me I'm watching, then I no longer add the E. Je me suis lavé la figure. I don't need the E because now la figure is what's being washed, and it doesn't matter what gender it is. So basically the way to look at it is if you're doing something to a part of your body, you don't worry about those endings. If the person's doing something and it's not to a specific part of the body, they're just doing it, then you do add them. Let's look at the example. Elle s'est brossée. Extra E because it's elle. But if she's brushing her teeth, then it's elle s'est brossé les dents. No extra E. The third one, elles se sont rasées. There's an extra E because it's feminine and an extra S because it's plural. But elles se sont rasées les jambes. There's no E or S because we have a direct object, a body part that is getting the action. I'd like you to copy that whole thing down, including the examples. Press pause while you do that, and then press play again, and we'll move on. Okay, and just a quick review. You don't need to copy this down either because you already know it. Negating reflexive verbs in the passé composé. The ne and the pas goes around that reflexive pronoun and the helping verb. So there should be 2 little words in there. Je ne me suis pas lavé. Il ne s'est pas habillé. The past participle goes after the pas. Just remember that. It goes around the verb and the pronoun, but it doesn't go around the past participle. All right, we're going to practice this. In your next slides, you're going to need your notebook. For each slide, I want you to write a sentence about what the person did in the picture and include as many details as possible. We're going to do one together. Pay attention to the past participle endings. So let's start with this one. What did he do? He woke up. How do we say he woke up? Write it down in your notebook. You can say it out loud too. If you say it and write it, you'll do even better. Il s'est réveillé. Say it after me. Il s'est réveillé. Notice there are no extra endings on that past participle because it's a guy and it's singular, so we don't need any. Let's try another one. Ah, he got up. How are we going to say that? Try and write it in your notebook and say it out loud together. How about that? Or just write it, it's fine. Il s'est levé. Say it after me. Il s'est levé. Super. Ah, he took a shower. Il s'est douché. Il s'est douché. She got dressed. Elle s'est habillée. Notice the extra E. Elle s'est habillée. Extra E. Ah, he took a rest. He rested. Il s'est reposé. Elle s'est maquillée. Notice the extra E. Elle s'est maquillée. I just realized something. I made this picture feminine, but that would mean that you are looking at a topless girl washing her hair. So let's just pretend she's wearing a shirt. Elle s'est lavé les cheveux, right? She washed her hair, and we'll skip right over that one. How about she brushed her hair? Elle s'est brossé les cheveux. Elle s'est brossé les cheveux. How about he shaved. Il s'est rasé. Il s'est rasé. She brushed her teeth. Elle s'est brossé les dents. Ah, he washed with what? Il s'est lavé. You could add, il s'est lavé avec du savon. Excellent. In the next pictures, I want you to write a sentence about what the person says about what they did. So it's no longer you describing them, it's them saying what they're doing or what they did. And you're going to include as many details as possible, same as before. Your sentences should all start with je, right? Because this is you talking. You're pretending you're that person saying what they did. So here, look at her. She's got a bunch of makeup. What did she do? Say je. Je me suis maquillée avec du maquillage. Say it after me. Je me suis maquillée avec du maquillage. Je me suis lavé les mains avec du savon. Je me suis lavé les mains avec du savon. Ah, here she is again. Now we're going to pretend she's a guy. That makes it better. Je me suis lavé les cheveux avec du shampoing. Je me suis lavé les cheveux avec du shampoing. Je me suis rasé avec un rasoir. Je me suis rasé avec un rasoir. Je me suis rasé les jambes avec un rasoir. Notice there's no extra E because she's shaving her legs. Je me suis rasé les jambes avec un rasoir. Je me suis brossé les cheveux avec une brosse à cheveux. Je me suis brossé les cheveux avec une brosse à cheveux. Je me suis brossé les dents avec une brosse à dents et du dentifrice. Je me suis brossé les dents avec une brosse à dents et du dentifrice. Now, I'd like you to close your notes. And I want you to go back to the first slide, the first picture. And I want you to go through all of them without looking and say out loud what they did or what they said they did. So you're doing the same exercise, only this time you're not writing it down, you're saying it, and you're not going to look at what you wrote before, and you're going to see how well you can do. So press pause now, go back, or not pause, just rewind back to wherever you need to be at the first slide that we did. When you get back to this slide, then you know we're done. So, très bon travail. Continuez avec les devoirs indépendants. So it was very good work, and we're going to keep going with our independent work. So this is where I say au revoir, à bientôt, je vous aime, mes amis.